to the Murder, She Wrote Rewatch podcast. We're back again with the episode My Johnny Lies Over the Ocean. Now, this is a fun little episode. Kind of interesting and strange, but it mostly fun because it has Leslie Nielsen in it, as I mentioned at the end of last episode. And Leslie Nielsen is an actor that I am I've always loved his acting. He's been amazing. He's got a very dry, deadpan delivery. And he plays a character in this. So it's kind of cool. Now, as always, we will begin by taking a look at our players. Who's all kicking around in this episode. As always, we have Jessica Fletcher, Miss Angela Lansbury. We also have Jessica's brother. That's right. Jessica's brother is played by Jason Evers. Dr. Marshall McGill. He is, let's see here. Yeah. Okay, 117 credits. Wow, he's been in a lot of television series. One of his last acting credits was the Murder, She Wrote episode that we just saw. He played Taggart in an episode of the A-Team. He played an episode of Matlock after that. And then he played Lou the Editor in Basket Case 2 in 1990. And that was it. He passed away in 2003. Best known for Dr. Bill Courtner in The Brain That Wouldn't Die. Interesting. E2 in Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Professor Joseph Howe in Channing. That looks like a TV series. And Captain Coleman in The Green Berets. That's what he's known for. He was only in the one episode of Murder, She Wrote. Hawaii Five-0. He had a few characters in that. H.R. Buchanan in 3 parts of Happy Days. Yeah, he's been in a lot of the older television series. Mission Impossible. Yeah. Oh, he played Star Trek 1968. Rael, Wink of an Eye. Episode of Star Trek. There. So yeah, he's been in a lot of the TV shows back in the day. He plays Jessica's brother. And we end up finding out that his daughter is in this as well. Jessica's niece, Pamela Crane, is her name. She's played by Belinda Montgomery. And she's from Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Canada. She is a Canadian actress. And she is most known for Doogie Howser, MD. Yep, Doogie Howser. She was on that show. The Other Side of the Mountain. She actually played Catherine Hauser in Doogie Howser, MD. I think that was Doogie's mother, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Dr. Joan Gilmore in Silent Madness. And more recently, in 2010, I wonder if she was in the original of that. Let me do a quick scan here, just to see. Boop. Boop. Nope. Okay. Yeah. I had to do a little search because she was in Tron Legacy as Grandma Flynn in 2010. God, it's been that long? 2010 was when Tron Legacy came out? Oh, God. I am old. What else has she been in? She's been in quite a lot of TV movies and short videos. Oh, pardon me. Doogie Howser, as I said, Catherine Howser for 97 episodes. She played Carolyn Crockett / Carolyn Ballard in 5 episodes of Miami Vice. Sarah Miller in Aaron's Way. Where is the Murder, She Wrote is what I want to see. I want to see if she's come back as Jessica's niece in a later episode. I don't see it. I must be missing it. Where is it? Oh, she was in an episode of Magnum P.I. The Legacy of Garwood Huddle. She played Franny Huddle. There it is. Nope. The only episode she's been in is this one. Pamela Crane as the niece of Jessica Fletcher. So yeah. She plays the niece, who is like the first character we see. There is also... let's look at Leslie Nielsen. For those of you who don't know. He plays Captain Daniels. He plays the captain of a cruise ship that all this happens on. Born in Regina, Saskatchewan. We've got another Canadian. Very sadly, he passed away in 2010. He is most known for the Naked Gun movies. We had the Naked Gun 2.5, and the Naked Gun 33 1/3, as well as Airplane, and just a whole bunch of other things. I have a kitty coming around to say hi. He voiced Zero Man for the TV series Zero Man. What else has he done? He's done Scary Movie 3, President Harris, Sergeant Buck Frobisher in 4 episodes of Due South TV series, if any of you have ever seen that. That's the one with a Mountie and a United States cop teaming up to solve crime. He's done a lot of comedy movies. Men with Brooms, Mr. Magoo, the live action, he was Mr. Magoo. Spy Hard. He played Dick Steele, Agent WD-40. Oh, yes. He's done quite a lot of Surf Ninjas. Oh, God, I remember Surf Ninjas. Colonel Chi. Wow, that was a bad movie. That was a bad movie. He was on an episode of Golden Girls back in the day. Murder, She Wrote. Oh, he's been in 2 episodes of Murder, She Wrote. One in 1985. This one, My Johnny Lies Over the Ocean, and Dead Man's Gold. He played a new character, David Everett. So we'll be getting to see him again soon in this one. And then he's been in like Police Squad, which is what the Naked Gun movies were based off of. Detective Frank Drebin. 6 episodes of that. Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, all kinds of them. Yeah. SWAT, the TV series. Vic Ritchie for 2 episodes. Columbo, he was in 3 episodes of Columbo. Nope, sorry, 2. My bad. He played Vincent Corbino in 4 episodes of the original Kung Fu TV series. So yeah, he's been around it a lot in television and in movies, quite a bit. I love watching him in anything, and in this one, it's no different. He's quite good. Who else is in here? There is just a small character that pops up now and then. Ramon, the ship's steward, played by Paul Carafotes. Carafotes, I think that's how you pronounce it. He was in Fight Club, Salvatore, the winking bartender. All the Right Moves is Salvucci. Choices is John Carluccio. And Script Fellas is Barry Goldberg. 43 acting credits. Most recently, he was on like an episode of Castle, an episode of Criminal Minds, and other than that, he was on the Damages TV series as Man in Overcoat for 6 episodes. Never seen the Damages TV show, but it's supposed to be good, I guess. He's been in a couple CSIs. Let's see, Knots Landing. If any of you have ever seen Knots Landing. And he was only in this one as Ramon. As this almost ethnic stereotype. I'll get into it in a little bit later when he shows up. Now, we also have some other people kicking around on our wonderful little cruise. We have Dr. Andrea Jeffries Reed, played by Rosemary Forsyth. Montreal, Quebec, Canada, another Canadian. We've got like 3 Canadians on this one. She is best known for Stephanie Kaplan in Disclosure, along with Michael Douglas. Inquisitor in Ghosts of Mars. I remember that sci-fi movie. Miss London in Daylight. And Shenandoah. Oh, the movie Shenandoah. She played Jenny. 82 acting credits. Couple episodes of Without a Trace. The TV movie in 2008, Sweet Nothing in My Ear, is the last thing she's done, according to IMDb. Ally McBeal, she played Judge Martha Graves. I don't know if anybody knows that. Star Trek Voyager, Alzen. Episode Scientific Method. Nice. General Hospital, Murder, She Wrote. Yeah, she played Dr. Andrea Jeffries Reed in this episode. And she's back again in 1991 as a different character. But other than that, Santa Barbara, she played Dominic for like 40 episodes. Magnum P.I., Margaret Chase, Legacy from a Friend, 1983. There's that one. But other than that, not too much on her plate. And now we have her husband George Reed, played by Lawrence Pressman. Lawrence Pressman is sadly not Canadian, but he's been in a few movies. He's Dr. Benjamin Canfield from Doogie Howser MD. We got another Doogie Howser alumni. And he played Coach Marshall and head coach, respectively, in American Pie and American Wedding. Possibly the same character. And he played Tom Hannon in Shaft, a movie I have never seen. Most recently, Ed Paskowitz in Transparent, Vernon Brando Wilkes, Heart of Dixie. There's some stuff post-production, and it's just been announced. What else we got? Game Changers, no. Boston Legal, Judge Floyd Hurwitz played a judge in General Hospital. Plays a judge a lot. Judge Harlan Marshall in Crossing Jordan. I just said he played a judge a lot. Another judge. Guy's a little typecast there. Murder, She Wrote. Where are you, Murder, She Wrote? You gotta be down farther. Dr. Dolittle 2. Governor of California, uncredited. Walter Anderson in 4 episodes of The Profiler. Mr. Fisher in Very Bad Things. I remember Very Bad Things. Played 3 different, the same alien twice, I think, and then one different alien, maybe, in Deep Space Nine, Star Trek. Where are you, Murder, She Wrote? There you are. He's been in 3 episodes as 3 different characters. This one in 87, and another one in 93. Nice. Not bad. I'm sure you're all hearing the bell. That's my cat rolling around on the ground and going, playing, batting at himself, cleaning himself. So that's George Reed. That is our the husband of Dr. Andrea Jeffries Reed. Who else do we have? Well, there's a couple of ladies here, and I believe this is the first one. I'll have to double check. No, no, not her. Must be her then. Yep, that's her. Joanne Worley. Uh, Joanne Worley is best known for Beauty and the Beast, the Walt Disney movie, as the wardrobe back in '91. The Hollywood Squares, she played herself on it. Match Game 73, she was a panelist. And the $10,000 Pyramid, she was a panelist. So she was on some game shows mostly. Uh, that's what people used to do back in the day. They used to be on game shows. The middle TV series is Ms. Lambert for one episode. She played Diane Michaels in Bones for an episode, 2011. She's reprised her role as the wardrobe in some Kingdom Hearts games. No. Beauty and the Beast. DuckTales. The Good Mudders. 1989. Voice as Joanne Worley. I don't know who she voiced. The Hoppopotamus from the Wuzzles. God, I remember the Wuzzles. Oh, wow, that's taking me back. Okay. And she played Carla Raymond in this one episode of Murder, She Wrote. Other than that, she hasn't been in too much that I know of. That I've seen. There's also Vicki Lawrence as Phoebe Carroll. Now, Phoebe and Carla are both friends who work for an insurance agency in this one. And they've booked a cruise. Now, Vicki Lawrence, some people might know Vicki Lawrence. She was on the Carol Burnett show for many, many years as dozens of characters. She was a writer on Vicky, which is I think her own show. The Nonsense Jamboree, Sister Mary Amnesia, which is a comedy, I believe. And then there's Mama's Family as Thelma Mama Crowley. Yeah, I know Vicki Lawrence. My mother used to watch Mama's Family a lot and laugh at it, and I've seen it too. And the Carol Burnett show as well. Hilarious actress, very good. I didn't recognize her in this, but then it's been a while since I've seen it. Let's see. Mama Ruthie and Grandma Stewart. She played on Hannah Montana for a few episodes. She has been TV series Yes Dear, Natalie Warner. And what else we got? 1996. Yeah, there's Mama's Family. That ran for 7 years. 130 episodes of that. Wow. Laverne and Shirley. She was in a few episodes as Sergeant Alvinia T. Plout. Wow, that's a name. Alvinia T. Plout. Jeez. And the Carol Burnett show, of course, has various characters. Where's the Murder, She Wrote? There it is. Yeah, she was Phoebe Carroll in this one. Back again in '86, so next season, likely. Or later this season. Depending. No, I think it will be next season. As Jackie McKay. Only 38 acting credits to her name, but the ones she's been in, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Alright. So those two are friends. Very braying, obnoxious type ladies, as we'll get into. Then there is Linda Day George. She plays the purser on the ship. This lovely blonde woman. She is best known for Mission Impossible, the original TV show, as Lisa Casey. Mary Riggs in the movie Pieces. Sue McSween in Chisholm. And Terry Marsh in Day of the Animals. Stop clawing at the carpet, you. And the last thing she did, she hasn't passed away according to IMDb, but the last thing she did was in '89, was Mission Impossible TV series. Lisa Casey. The one episode. She did Diane Shelley, this episode in Murder, She Wrote. A few episodes of Fantasy Island. Roots as Mrs. Reynolds, the TV miniseries. If any of you have seen Roots, she was Mrs. Reynolds in that. Alma Van Dyne, The Adventures of the Comic Book Crusader from Ellery Queen TV series. Interesting. Mission Impossible TV series, Lisa Casey. 44 episodes of that, so pretty big there. Amelia Cole in 15 episodes of The Silent Force. And she played four different characters in the FBI TV series. And anything else I don't even know. But she's a lovely blonde woman who may have a motive in this crime that is going to happen. Who else do we have that I haven't checked into? The Dr. Carmichael's nobody. He was only in it for like one bit. Played by Don Dubbins, who I don't know anything about. Yeah, I've never even heard of him. There's Don Matheson. He plays an Oklahoma cowboy. Best known for like Days of Our Lives and General Hospital. All the soaps, basically. He's been in all the soaps. And that's about it, I think. Oh, wait, no. There's one more. Andrew Parks. He plays Russell Tompkins in this. Andrew Parks. He's Hallman in Donnie Brasco. He was Crowbar in The Lost Skeleton of Cadavra, 2001. The Mirror Has Two Faces. He was Waiter. And Trail of the Screaming Forehead, Dr. Philip Latham. Wow. The Screaming Forehead. Wow. Let's see here. Tales from the Pub. He played Truffin Newbin and the Patron. He was Crowbar in The Lost Skeleton of Cadavra, as well as The Lost Skeleton Returns Again in 2009. Donnie Brasco, as I said. Murder, She Wrote. He played, 1987, he played a different character. In The Corpse Flew First Class. And I don't think there's not too many other credits that he has that I think any of you would know. Look him up, though. Andrew Parks. He definitely has an interesting look to him. That's for sure. That's for sure. And that's going to be it for all of them. That's pretty much it. We've got the captain, the ship's steward, the purser in the ship. We've got Jessica and her niece. We've got a husband and wife, two friends on vacation, and Mr. Parks there is Russell Tompkins as a teacher, quite possibly. So what's happening in this episode? Well, what's happening in this particular episode is that it begins with a beautiful looking woman who happens to be Jessica's niece in a bathing suit, uh, walking in slow motion. There's some very strange music playing. It's kind of like slowed down, a little bit distorted, and we see the outer edges of the screen are all blurred and distorted, and you can kind of hear what sounds like almost a beating heart, um, as she dives in the pool and gets out of it, drying herself off, heading into the house. You know, doing stuff that's in the summer. What people do that have, money and a pool all to themselves. So we see her walking away from the pool, going up into her house. Everything's still distorted. That heartbeat sound's getting louder as it's coming in. She's fixing herself a drink, and she walks in, and we see a dead body with a gun, blood on the hand, and we see her mouthing the word Johnny. And then all of a sudden, she sits up because she's having a dream. She seems to be in a hospital because a nurse is right there to like calm her down. She's not making eye contact with the nurse at all. Next thing we see is her father talking to the doctor as they are walking outside of the sanitarium where she's being kept. And the doctor's explaining that she is basically as well as they can make her. He doesn't want her to get dependent on the institution for her continued existence and whatnot. He wants her to take an opportunity to get away, and the cruise is going to be the perfect opportunity for that. 2 weeks relaxation, just sun, quiet, just get to make herself nice and peaceful. So as they're walking, we hear someone shouting, and it's Pamela, who is there to meet her father, and they hug and whatnot. And then we have a limo pull up in front of the boat because we're at the docks, the SS Cristalino. And we see George Reed and his wife, Dr. Andrea, Dr. Andrea Jeffries Reed, getting out, and they look quite happy and whatnot, because they're going to be having 2 beautiful weeks all by themselves. And she wants to go and make just a quick phone call because of her work. And the husband seems a little bit put off by that, and he's like, oh, come on. So she goes off to do that. It cuts to Jessica and Pamela posing for a photo while Jessica's brother, Marshall, is trying to take a picture. And of course, he's taking forever to do it. Because he basically he wants to get it perfect, and Jessica's like, hurry up and take the picture already before our mouths freeze. Now they're about to get a picture with themselves, and Marshall goes and flags down Dr. Andrea, gets her to take a picture of the 3 of them together for a brief moment. And it's obvious because she's like, which button do I press? She knows nothing about photography. So that after she leaves, they have a little bit of a talk. The father of Pamela is basically like, I just want you to take lots of pictures, to have fun, relax, stay with Jessica. So naturally, everything is, nice. The little bit of a tearful farewell, but not really. And then we cut to a midtown cab coming, just screeching into the port, and the two ladies get out, Joanne Hurley and Vicki Lawrence, arguing to beat the band. And one of them is basically like, "You go pay the cabbie," and it's like, "Where are the tickets? We need the tickets. I've got the tickets. You just do this." And oh, they are shrieky, and their voices are like nails on chalkboards. So they're automatically, they're sticking out in your mind. So then we see those two, Jessica and Pamela. So they're walking on the boat, ready to get going up to their room, when they bump into Mr. Hopkins. What's his face there? I was just looking at his name, so I need to find it again. There it is, Russell. Russell Tompkins. They bumped into him, and of course, he apologizes and whatnot, and kind of seems to flirt with the young man just a little. And Jessica's like nudging her niece, kind of basically going, "Well, he's pretty. Maybe you should talk to him." So she goes up to her room, the niece, and Jessica goes to the purser's office to cash in some traveler's checks. When she comes back, Pamela is currently crying over a letter. And Jessica is, being her happy self, talking about how much fun they're going to have. And, of course, then she notices her niece is being a little bit tearful and distraught, because she was reading a letter that her husband, former husband, Johnny, left, because that was the fellow that she had walked in on, she was having the dream of. Her husband had committed suicide, left a note. That's why she was in the sanitarium. And she brought the note along. She always carries it with her. And she was reading it again, and it brought up bad memories, because she's still grieving for him. And there's a wonderful moment here where Pamela and Jessica are talking in the room, and Pamela keeps saying about Jessica and her husband, who has passed away. We find that out in the very first episode. But Jessica and her husband Frank, that it was a perfect marriage, according to Pamela here. And Jessica's like, no, we weren't perfect. We were definitely happy, but we weren't perfect. Every marriage has to take work. And it's a very nice little moment where it puts forth that what am the word I'm looking for here? It's that premise, that belief that just because you're married doesn't mean everything has to be perfect. Doesn't mean people can't argue and work through problems or anything like that. It's putting forth that message to people watching that, marriages take work. They take time and effort. And it's not just something that happens and is happy. And I like that moment. It's really quite nice. Then Pamela brings the note over for Jessica to read. And just before she was going to read it, there's a knock on the door. So she folds up the letter, Jessica does, and in comes Ramon, our steward, he's got the mustache on, and he's talking in an accent that's kind of overdone, a little bit stereotypical, and he seems to definitely be flirting with both the young lady and Jessica. And the wine that gets delivered uh, comes with a card. So she goes and opens it up to read it, Pamela does, and immediately looks distraught because it's signed to Pepper. And Jessica doesn't know what it is. And Pamela explains that Pepper is what Johnny used to call her. It was his private nickname for her. Nobody else knew it. Oh, trouble in paradise. The next thing we see is the two brash women show up to the food, and he wants to. He tells them that their table is number 31, and of course, Joanne Hurley goes and pulls out some money, and very obviously offers it to get them seated next to some handsome oil baron or rancher dude that Miss Hurley there. That's the actress's name. Carla Raymond. That Carla wants to sit next to. And of course, the maitre d' takes the money and basically calls over someone and basically says, take them to table 20 instead of table 31, because he's not above being bribed. Then we see Mr. and Mrs. Reed coming in to the ballroom and sneaking over to say hi, Mr. Reed. Say hi to Jessica Fletcher, because he's a big fan of her work. And of course, Jessica's already met Mrs. Reed. She's the one that took the picture of them earlier at their asking. So after they have some polite introductions, just generally introduce themselves, Jessica is, of course, pointing out that Mr. Tompkins is over there, reading, and maybe she should go and maybe Pamela should go and say hi, just maybe. Of course, Pamela wants nothing to do with that right now, so they go and look at the menus, and as soon as they go to look at the menus, Pamela seems to be having another one of these horrible attacks because the special today. There's a little card attached to the menu. Special today, chicken breast, stuffed with chopped walnuts, mushrooms, and covered with mustard sauce. And Jessica is, of course, oh, that sounds tasty. And Pamela's like, that's Johnny's favorite dish that she used to make for him. That's her recipe. Nobody else has that recipe. She made it up. She created it. So she has a bit of a spell and rushes out. Of course, the maitre d' comes over to see what's going on, and Jessica is like, can you tell me who suggested this as the special for the day? Because Jessica's getting a little suspicious, and as soon as that happens, the maitre d's like, she's like, no one. He's like, this is absolutely not the special of the day. We would not serve this here. And he tears up the card and walks off. So Jessica heads back to the purser's office, where our lovely young blonde lady, Miss Diane Shelley, is there. So Jessica wants to know who sent the wine. Now, the purser tells her if it was already in the room when they got there, it was part of the ship, and there's no way to track that. But if it was sent after, which it was, then they could. But it was delivered in cash, and the note was a note was left with instructions. So Jessica looks at the note and takes out the note that Pamela gave her, written by Johnny, and is comparing the handwriting. And then she looks at the purser and says, I'm going to keep this, and leaves. We see Pamela out on the deck, and we hear someone whispering, Pepper. Jessica heads back to the room and pours out a little bit of that wine and gives it a little bit of a taste to think maybe it's. She's like, maybe it's poisoned? But she doesn't seem to be able to tell that just by a little bit of a smell and a taste. Uh, if it is poison, it's by something that's not easily detectable. So we see Pamela again, sitting out on the deck, dark night. She finally hears somebody calling Pepper to her. So she goes up the stairs to go and have a little bit of a look-see. We see Miss Hurley, or not Miss Hurley, Carla, talking with the cowboy, having basically being very flirty, because she wants to have fun for the next 2 weeks. And Jessica is coming by and ends up stopping them and asking if either one of them have seen her niece, Pamela, and they're like, no, haven't seen him. And as soon as that happens, we hear screaming. The next thing we see Vicki Lawrence screaming her head off, and down at the bottom of the stairs, where she's standing at, is Pamela. Mr. Tompkins shows up as well and rushes down to have a look at her, as does Jessica. Of course, she's still alive, she's still breathing. They get her to the infirmary right quick. The doctor of the ship patches her up, and we finally get to meet the captain. Captain Daniels, by Mr. Nielsen. And the captain here takes the place of the police in most of these episodes that we've seen. He's the one in charge, asking the questions and whatnot. And it seems like he may not be believing Pamela's story. Or he doesn't want to rush into things. He's got this very slow way of speaking. Very, very, very matter-of-factly. And Leslie Nielsen pulls it off wonderfully. And he seems, at first, dismissive of Jessica's usual busybodiness. And Jessica gets Pamela to be allowed to stay in the infirmary over the night, with somebody keeping an eye on her. And then Jessica goes to the captain's quarters because she wants to talk to him about something. And Jessica is showing the notes and basically saying, I think someone is terrorizing her. I don't know why, but somebody on this ship is doing it, and we need to find out who. And of course the captain's all, we can't do that. There's 600 and some people on here. That's going to be insane. There's going to be no way we can do it. Of course, Jessica is immediately going, we don't have to search and keep an eye on anybody. We can narrow down the suspect list drastically, because whoever's doing this is coming after her niece, and because of that, Jessica only booked her tickets and her niece's tickets 4 days ago. So anyone who booked after that is on our suspect list. And of course, the captain has access to all of the records of who's on here and when they booked, so he's able to get that information to her. And that there's only a few people who did this. So Jessica is definitely having a look at that. And of course, she also gets the captain to pull out all the stops and make sure somebody is always watching her niece, in case something happened. The next thing you see is Dr. Andrea and her husband, George Reed. They end up talking to Jessica, asking about her niece and whatnot. And Jessica plays it off, saying, "Oh no, she just slipped and fell. It's no big deal." And of course, Jessica explains it to her niece that no, somebody is doing this to you, and I'm going to find out who. And the entire time that those two are now walking along the deck, there's a young man following them. And of course, her niece notices, and Jessica's like, "Oh yes, no, no, he's fine. He's there to keep an eye on you while all this is going on." Uh, and of course, they end up meeting, and during the whole thing, you find out that Johnny, her husband that killed himself, was a was adopted, and he met his birth mother just a couple of months before all this went down. But she didn't seem to want anything to do with him. She put him up for adoption, and nothing ever really came of it. But that sparks Jessica's little little gray cells, as it were. So we see Mr. Tompkins come by again as they're walking, and he's like checking to see if she's okay, how she's feeling. Jessica, of course, asks him to join them because they're going for a little stroll about the deck. And just as soon as they take like 3 steps, when Jessica, of course, looks at her watch and she's like, "Oh no, I have an appointment. You two just go and enjoy the stroll. Just go and enjoy the stroll." Good old busybody Jessica trying to play matchmaker. So she goes and makes a call back to Marshall, the doctor who is her brother and Pamela's father, to needs her to check and get some records unsealed about who Johnny's adopted, or who Johnny's birth mother was. And basically says, if that judge that you know is still your drinking buddy, get him to help you do this. But don't worry, everything's fine. We'll take care of it. Just get me that information. So he agrees to call the judge and find it. Now, the next thing we see is a wonderful captain, Mr. Leslie Nielsen, letting Jessica know about the now narrowed down suspect list. Because if it's the mother of Johnny who's doing this, then it has to be somebody over 40 who booked at the last minute. And there's only 3 people that fit that bill. Dr. Andrea Reed, Carla, and where is it? Carla and Phoebe. Those 3. But as she's leaving the room, he says there's actually a 4th person, the purser, the beautiful young blonde woman who we've seen a couple times so far. The normal purser got sick and at the last minute had to be replaced, and she specifically requested and was insistent on having this job, taking over and filling in on this cruise. So that's something to consider. It might be her. Next thing we see Pamela and what's his face? What's his face there? Russell Tompkins. Talking. Just having a little stroll and talking, and Jessica's heading up to meet them when Ramon tracks her down and delivers the photographs from the thing, the onboard developing studio that they have for the photos, for the film. And he flirts with Jessica some more, saying that saying that he missed her at the dance and he hopes that she will come tonight because he wants to show her his hoochie coochie in a terrible accent still. I can't get over how bad that accent is. Yeah, the hoochie coochie. And then he's immediately off talking to another lady and flirting with them. A very, very promiscuous fellow. Pamela and Mr. Tompkins is talking about him taking karate and whatnot. And there's a page that basically is calling her to the purser's office, calling Pamela and calling her Pepper. So in she runs into the purser's office and starts shouting at the blonde woman behind the desk, going, "Why are you doing this?" And he's basically, she says that they just received a fax and was asked to come in. And the fax that came in over the wire and whatnot was from Johnny. And it said, where is it here? I can bring that up. Give me just a second, because I've got it here. There we are. Pamela Crane, Pan-Oceanic Cruise on the Telegram, Western Union. Remember, darling, until death do us part, Johnny. Yeah. So Pamela, of course, faints right then and there. And is back in the infirmary again. Because she's still suffering grief and this stuff's going on. Poor girl's getting put through the ringer. Now, the captain wants to make sure she's safe and whatnot. And Jessica wants to have a word with Miss Shelley about what this is going on. So they question her, both her and the captain. And she is adamant that she has nothing to do with terrorizing anybody, especially this girl. She took this job to get away from a relationship that wasn't well. And they can check if they want. But that's why she wanted it, to get away from this man. So that's okay. Everything seems to be resolved there. And of course, Ramon is shamelessly flirting with Jessica for a little bit when he pops in to deliver a message. Now, the captain wants to take Jessica out to the dining room to talk to some of the other ladies. But Jessica forestalls him, basically telling the good captain that he was very intimidating just then, and that she thinks the gold braids on his shoulder, him being the captain, might put some of the ladies off. They might not want to say anything, so she's going to go and talk to them herself and keep the captain informed. Now, after she leaves, the captain goes over to the mirror in his thing, and he's looking at himself in the gold braids, and he's just like, Next thing we see Carol, or Carla, I should say. Carla and Phoebe having quite a few desserts from the dessert tray. And Phoebe, played by Vicki Lawrence, is basically deriding Carol, basically saying, "Don't ask to borrow my swimsuit, all right? Because you're not..." And of course, calling Carla her real age of 44, that she absolutely hates. You can tell these two have been together and as friends for a long time. Jessica, of course, comes on over and basically makes a comment how the desserts look delicious. So they get invited to join. And she has a bit of a discussion about the cruise. She basically makes it be let known, Jessica does, lying through her teeth, I might add, about how bad this cruise is, and that her room's drafty, and that the place is jinxed, and it's cursed, and that's why they can't get it full, and all this and that. Basically spinning this yarn to get them to talk. And they basically we're not having, we're having a good time, you know. I mean, we booked this at the last minute because our company, we wanted to do like 6 weeks next year, but they said, nope, you can't bank your vacation. So we had to take it all immediately. And we're lucky we managed to get this, which gives them a very plausible alibi. So it couldn't be them. So that only leaves Dr. Andrea Reed. So after that, Jessica goes and heads off to track down Miss Reed, and ends up finding the husband, who basically hasn't seen her. His wife's gone to lay down like over an hour ago, and of course he's like, well, we'll go and see if she's awake. So he takes her to the room, and they find Miss Reed dead. So we are currently like 30 minutes into this episode. 33 minutes or so into an episode. Like 2/3 over, pretty much. And before we've had a murder. It's a very interesting episode. So the captain and the doctors, of course, checking her out. They're asking Ramon what happened, and he hadn't seen her for over an hour and a half. He knocked on the door, but there was no answer. The good captain comes in to talk to the husband, George, who's looking at with Jessica at some photos of Johnny and Andrea, because Jessica knows that Andrea is the mother, because she found that out. Definitely the mother, more than likely anyways, of Johnny, and that she had these photos. And of course the husband's just like, I never dreamed anything like this could possibly happen. The next thing that we see is that because George, during this scene with the captain, he's definitely distraught, but he's not like tearful and breaking down, not like Pamela is. He seems to be holding it all inside. Ramon comes and gets Jessica, saying that there's a very important phone call. And that phone call is what lets Jessica know that Andrea is Johnny's mother, and gave him up for adoption. So she is the one that has been terrorizing poor Pamela, and killed herself when she wasn't able to get revenge, I guess. Such a tragedy. Such a tragedy. So George Reed leaves, and Jessica goes and catches up with him to talk to him a bit, and about him and how he's doing. You know, just basically being a good person, when he goes and lets, because Jessica mentions about the photographs, and that the private investigator would have to be tracked down. They'll get some more answers then, because who else took the pictures? And of course, George says, no, I don't think there was a private investigator. I'm pretty sure my wife took those pictures. Like, she's a dab hand at photography, which Jessica knows is demonstrably not true, because she's seen the woman not know how to work a camera. Earlier in that episode, she goes and hugs, goes and sees Pamela and gives her a hug and whatnot. And Pamela's talking about the poor woman who's killed herself and this, that, and the other thing. And she's like, no. She didn't kill herself. She was murdered by her husband. I just don't know how to prove it yet. The next thing we see is Jessica on the bridge talking with the captain, wanting to get George Reed arrested, And of course, the captain is not going to do it. He's not going to cause a panic on the ship and throw someone and possibly endanger his career just on the say-so of her, especially when she has no concrete proof. Um, he doesn't seem like he's a bad man. He's just like, there is no proof, and he doesn't know Jessica. So he doesn't know that you should always listen to Jessica Fletcher. So he finally puts his foot down and is like, nope, we're not doing that. He never seems to lose his temper. He's very, very, very calm about the whole thing. Very in control, which I like. The next thing we see is George Reed toasting his dead wife, or her picture anyways, talking about all the money that he's going to get from all of her holdings and all this and that. God, what an evil bastard. So he is doing that. There's a knock on the door, as well as Jessica, and we see Jessica pretending to be drunk. And really hamming it up. I mean, really hamming it up. It's a wonderful comedic scene. She's in like this dark trench coat and a floppy hat, basically saying that his wife, she's waxing poetic about a murder most foul, and that he's the one that did it, and she's got the proof. She can prove it. And what that proof is, well, we end up finding out, because he keeps trying to shut the door, and Jessica keeps taunting him and getting him to open it up. She ends up putting the wine bottle that she's cradling down after a bit, and pulling out a photograph that was taken. The one that she took of Jessica and Pamela and Marshall. And it is a horrible photograph because she's cut off pretty much all of their heads. They're not in center. It's a terrible looking photograph. And she took it the other day, Jessica tells him. And she's going to show this photograph to her niece, and then the captain, and then everybody else, and he's going to be arrested, and this, that, and the other thing. And he tries to lure her into the room to discuss this, and Jessica's like, not on your life, buddy. And then she goes and leaves before he gets a chance to stop her. So he goes and grabs his coat and chases after her. And we see Jessica stumbling around as she walks on the deck, and him chasing her through all along the deck and around this, that, and the other thing, until he finally seems to catch up to her. She's down at the bottom of the set of stairs, clinging to the rail, weaving back and forth. He comes down the stairs and tries to choke her, gets her right around the back of the neck. And then the next thing we see is Jessica Fletcher flipping this guy onto his back. Flash photography goes off, and Jessica runs out because Pamela had the camera and took a picture. And of course he's like, Miss Fletcher, and he looks up at who he thought Miss Fletcher was, and it was the tall young officer that was keeping an eye on Pamela the whole time, dressed up as Jessica, taking part in the little thing. Then it cuts to the next day, and we see Mr. Reed getting led off by authorities in that port of call where they pulled up. The captain is watching this happen, and then he goes and talks to Mrs. Fletcher. And he's all, well, I'm of half a mind to reprimand that young man for taking part in this. And Jessica's like, well, the last order you gave him was to make sure Pamela was safe, and that's the best way to do it. You never countermanded that order. The captain seems to take this in a very good nature, and they have a nice little chat, and he invites her out for dinner at this port of call where they've stopped. because he knows a nice little restaurant, and he'd like to dine with her. And Jessica's like, well, that depends. Are you going to show me your hoochie coochie? And for a minute he doesn't know what she's asking, and then it like clicks. She's talking about a dance, and he starts laughing, and the credits roll, and everything is resolved with a nice, neat little bow. That's as it usually is in this time. And that is that episode. My Johnny Lies Over the Ocean. This was a very interesting and nice episode because, like, the murder doesn't happen until far into it, but there's a lot of little things that you're like going, "What's going on? Is this guy not dead?" And we're wondering, and it's very strange. They poke around. I've always been a fan of the telling a story with some type of, as I will use the phrase, madness. You can be that way from like grief, where you're imagining things. It can be an actual mental disorder or disease. But anything revolving around that, I'm vastly interested in. I enjoy reading about the concept. I watch a lot of Criminal Minds, which deals a lot with that in different ways, and just that sort of thing. It is something that is appealing to me in the terms of stories and what kinds of stories you can tell. So to see it used in this, where we're wondering for like the first half of the episode, is this all happening in her head, or is something else going on? Because it could be. So yeah, it was a good episode, and I got to see Leslie Nielsen, which is always nice. So yeah, that's it for this episode of the Murder, She Wrote Rewatch podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, if you like what I'm doing, please give that like button a tap. Give that subscribe button a tap as well if you haven't already, so you can be kept apprised of when I do new videos. And throw a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think of this episode of my Murder, She Wrote podcast. Let's get a discussion going. Next time we will be taking a look at Paint Me a Murder. So join me for that, and join me next time for more murder.